Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. Want to thank you guys for tuning in. We have a special show today. Hopefully, you've seen the announcement by now that we've said that we're going to shut down the show. That's it. We're canceling. Um, but we're not going to be gone for good, but we're going to just start doing recorded shows and posting those and not being live every single Tuesday night. Anyway, if you check, I think in the description box, the link is there. You can get all the details. So tonight is the next to the last show, and we decided to talk about something that we've been putting off for a while. And Brooke and Sherry Ann have decided to cut out. Well, Brooke may be coming in late, and Sherry Ann isn't feeling well, so she's not going to be able to join us. But we're going to be talking about insurance, and more specifically, should obese people be forced to pay a higher premium for health insurance? We can touch on life insurance if you want to, but I think our focus was health insurance when we thought about this. So I'm going to let my wonderful, lovely co-host introduce herself, and then I will as well.
Well, hi guys. I guess that's me since I'm the other person here. So I am Sarah from the Smiling Lose Fat team.
And I am Khalif, Fat Guy Skinny Wallet. And okay, so it's kind of hard to just decide how do we go into this topic.
Yes.
But I figure we can at least look at it from two different ways. One, looking at it from a group insurance policy, which is what I think people care about. I don't think people care about individual ones as much, but I think we should make that distinction. A group policy where you probably would get at work or something like that, where
Right.
a whole bunch of people are insured, and the point of the group is that all of the risk of every individual is just combined and then averaged out and is dispersed among the whole group, so everybody pays the same rate. So most people, when you go to work, they just say, if you're single, you pay this amount. If you're married, you pay this amount. If you have kids, you pay this amount, and that's it. They don't ask you for your age and change the amount based on that. They don't weigh you and give you a different amount or ask if you're a smoker and all that stuff. It's just, if you want this type of coverage, this is what you pay
Right.
because you're in a group. So I think that's the big one, but also, of course, you have individual insurance, which they're probably going to be more specific in what they ask. And I think I was reading that there's maybe only 6 states that make it illegal, or at least it's against whatever insurance regulations are in the state, to use weight as one of the ways to base a premium. So there's apparently 44 states that allow insurance companies to use weight as a factor if you're not in a group. So it's already happening, but most
Wow.
people get insurance through an employer or some other group, so they don't face that.
Right. Yes. Well, because Matt is self-employed, so our insurance is, when we get insurance, we don't have it at the moment, but it's just, we have to purchase it on our own. We're not in a group or anything like that. But when I worked at Taco Bell, I got health insurance. Isn't that so weird? I paid $15 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, I had great insurance too, and I had dental, but that was a long time ago.
Okay.
And maybe I should go back to work at
But
Taco Bell. It might
I
work
was going
out.
to say probably the best health insurance you did was quitting Taco Bell, right?
Well, I don't know, man. I was doing pretty good there.
So I'm making sure that we didn't miss anything that anyone said right away. Um, all right. So for me, I think probably before the last 6 months, if you would have asked me this, I would have said, of course, people should pay more because you're increasing. You being obese increases the chance that you're going to use the health
Hmm.
insurance, and the more you use it, the more you should pay.
Right.
But then there was a lot of things that I started to consider, and I think I still would say that at the end, but there's a lot of, kind of like, what in this situation? Then it's like, oh yeah, that's true. Like we were talking about it being a slippery slope, and saying that if you use weight, then how far do you go? How do you determine what weight is healthy and what's not?
Right.
That's one
Yeah,
thing.
because I'll never, personally, I know I'll never fit in that perfect BMI chart thing, so would the government always consider me overweight because I'm never going to be into that specific spot,
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of people aren't. And I mean, there's other things. I think a lot of doctors are trying to go from BMI to using the
Yeah,
we talking about waist to hip ratio, because apparently the way the fat is dispersed around, especially the middle of your body, really determines
right.
your risk for a lot of health factors more than just your weight and height. You know,
Mhm.
because you could be someone like me, I guess, where every inch of my body is fat. You know,
Right.
like I have these pork sausage toes, and I have fat fingers, and I have fat arms and everything. It's not just like I have stick legs and a big huge belly like Grimace from
Right.
McDonald's. Like so I'm my weight is dispersed, I guess, well in that sense, but they would definitely ding me as much as somebody who just has a big belly.
Right. Right. Yeah. And my weight is even well, it's more focused at the bottom actually, but that's where it's all at. And now my belly, but that's different weight.
Yeah. So
But
I think in the end, I look at what's the purpose of insurance, and the purpose of insurance. I'm going to look here because I wrote down a lot of stuff when
okay.
my mind was working earlier today. But the purpose of insurance is to trade risk. If I don't want to go through life um, having to pay for everything that could possibly happen to me. There's a risk involved. I could get
Right.
injured or I can get a disease, and there's someone out there who says we're willing to pay to buy or sell risk, however you want to say it. There's
Right.
this market where I can say there's this risk that I undertake. How much do I have to pay you to take the risk? I trade money and then you get my risk. So when something happens to me, I don't deal with the consequences. The insurance company deals with the consequences. So they're providing a service. It's not insurance isn't a right. Insurance is a service where a company says, "Hey, you don't want the risk of being stuck with all these medical bills. You don't want the risk
Mhm.
of having to pay $100,000 for an emergency surgery. So we'll take that risk on, and you just pay us each month, even if you don't use the service.
Right.
You still pay us, but when you need it, we'll be there and we'll pay 10 times more than what you've paid us."
Right. Yeah. It's really a gamble. You're gambling with it
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah.
So they're providing they're providing a service. They're not just
Yeah.
um
It's
you
not
know
like you're entitled to it.
right,
It's not like,
exactly.
you know, yeah.
So I look at it that way and say, yes, we definitely should say that if you're doing something that increases the risk of
Hmm.
you needing, medical attention, or increases the risk of you needing to use insurance, then you have to pay more.
Right. Yeah,
If the higher risk or the risk is part of the price.
exactly. I mean, do they charge smokers more? Like, do smokers get a higher premium than non-smokers? I
I
don't
think
know.
so. I don't know.
Yeah.
If we're talking about non-group policies, I think so.
Right.
I
Yeah.
know for life insurance, smokers definitely pay higher
Definitely.
premiums.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you can look at it like that is how is smoking, if you can charge a smoker more, why can't you charge an obese person more? Because it's like risk factors like you were saying. I,
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's like, but I also have that side. It's like, but where do you draw the line of you know what what is considered a risk factor and what isn't? Like, if you
Right.
come in, you have high blood pressure. I mean, are they going to charge you more because you have high blood pressure, or are they going to look as to why do you have high blood pressure? Do you have high blood pressure because you're obese? Then yes, you get charged more because you can do something about this. Or are you a healthy weight and still have high blood pressure? Well, then it's not your fault. Like
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. How far do you go? And
right,
actually, um, get a new me VSG. I guess to the question, which is um, should we, I guess, because I'm obese, should we have to pay more? She says, sure. But she said, as soon as they start making diabetic thin people, pregnant women, black Americans with high blood pressure, she is naming people who, aren't obese and still have these other health risks. So
right.
those
But
people would have to as well, right?
well, my thought is, but are those things that they're doing to themselves, or is that just, like? you're thin, you're healthy range, but you're diabetic. You didn't do anything to cause that diabetes. Obviously, pregnant women did do something to cause pregnancy, but it's a natural thing. It's not like something that is going to be forever and cost. What I'm trying to say. It's not like debilitating. It's not a disease that lasts forever, and Black Americans with high blood pressure. Isn't that like it's kind of like a genetic thing, you're more
Yeah.
prone to it. So do you understand what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, definitely. They would have to do something, but I think the argument of the insurance company would be if we have to do all of that,
Yeah,
then that
exactly.
means our costs increase because now we
Right.
have to investigate every,
Yeah.
physical exam that's given. So, I
I mean,
think
what's
it would become more like life insurance where they say you have to take a physical and we
Yep.
need a report from the doctor submitted to the insurance company, and then the insurance company will decide, all these things. But like I think I mentioned before a couple weeks ago, my friend who has a ton of health problems, many of which, she didn't do to herself. I mean, she's eating less than 1,000 calories a day and can't lose weight after losing 160 pounds. And she went to a pulmonologist for a breathing problem, and he just said, "You're fat and you need to
Yeah,
get on this diet plan." And it's like she probably knows more about nutrition than you, doctor. And
really.
what he would tell the insurance company is she's doing
She's
this
fat.
to herself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like you were saying, our insurance company is going to invest that time and the money for the resources into investing, or investigating each case. No, it's going
Yeah.
to be way too much work.
Right,
So,
exactly. So,
and
yeah,
it'll
what
end up
what do we do?
costing more. Yeah, I don't know. It's just,
I
I can
I
see both sides of the story. Like as a fat person myself, I don't want to have to pay more for insurance, but I can understand where I would be considered more high risk.
right.
So, I
And there's also, and oh, just the second part of Get a New Me VSG's comment. She says my company's group plan started this year to make smokers pay $600 per year for health insurance per covered smoking adult. So
yeah,
right there, I mean, you engage in an activity that's going to increase the risk that you're asking me to take on your behalf.
right,
So you're doing this, that means you have to pay me more money to compensate me because there's more likely a chance that I'm going to have to come out of my
exactly.
pocket to cover you. So I think that makes perfect sense if we know for a fact it's something that the user is
Mhm.
controlling and they can stop.
Or like an alcoholic,
Right.
like yeah, and you can guarantee those smokers, and if they see somebody who's fat and they're going to be like, hey, how come I have to pay more and they don't, they're doing just as
Exactly.
much damage to themselves. So, and can I say I blame the smoker? No, I wouldn't, because I'd be upset myself,
Yeah.
if you know I, but,
Yeah. It's hard, and there's something called moral hazard
mm,
um, that I learned a lot about. I actually had to do a paper on this when I was in grad school. But it's just the idea that people, when they don't have to deal with the consequences of their actions, they're more likely to engage in very, very risky behavior. And
mm-hmm.
you wonder how many of us, I mean, how many of us know we're doing damage to ourselves by the way we eat, and we don't fix it until the doctor says, you're going to have a heart attack. You're
Right.
pre-diabetic, or you're diabetic already, or you're this or that, or all those things are told to us and we don't care until we have an episode ourselves, or
Yep.
until our sister or our good friend dies of a heart attack and we're like, wow, he's only 2 years older than me. And that's
Yep.
when we take it seriously. But we knew all along what we were doing.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's just because something hasn't happened to us yet, so it doesn't matter. I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. And then you have the idea of, hey, I have insurance, so when the consequences come, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be fine. They're not going to come and take my house because I have insurance.
Yeah. Right.
The insurance
Right.
company is going to deal with the consequences. I won't. I'll just have surgery and I'll be out doing my business right after physical therapy, which the
Mhm.
insurance company will pay for.
Yeah.
And that's the attitude that we have. But if every time we needed serious medical care, there was a chance we could be homeless, we would take much better care of ourselves.
Oh, you bet. Yep.
But
Yeah,
we
or
don't.
if there was like a chance that we could be refused care. Because you go to any
Right.
emergency room in the country and they cannot refuse you. I mean, even insurance or no insurance, you're going to get, immediate care. You might not get long-term care, but they're going to do something when you go in. So,
Yep.
we know that, and maybe we don't consciously think about it, but, here in the US, like, healthcare is so available. Like, you can go to urgent clinics. We have free clinics. We have ERs. There's other places where they don't have that option. Like, they're amazed that you can go to the doctor on, like, a monthly basis if you need to. Or there's like doctors, like, I live in this small town. We have like probably 2,500 people, but I mean, we have a hospital, we have a clinic, we have a free clinic, we have 2 urgent care clinics, we have a chemo group. I mean, like, we have a lot of medical stuff here in this tiny little town. And it's like, whoa, we got a lot. So
Yeah.
it's there, it's available. And if you don't have insurance, I mean, there's programs that you can work through. That our hospital had a charity fund, that will help pay for your stuff. Like, there is so much, and we know it. Like, society as today knows that, if you're going to need that care, there's going to be some way, you're going to be able to get it somehow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't
I,
know, maybe if we didn't have that, would we take better care of ourselves? Like,
yeah. I think so. And I think one of the things, like when I was looking online, a lot of the arguments against, first, the bad thing is that people who are obese, um, they have a bad rap. Like,
hmm
in general, when someone sees someone who's obese, they think that they're lazy and
right,
that they eat like garbage. And so when I was looking online, so many people were like, if you're fat and you're doing this to yourself and all you have to do is get up off your butt, and it's not that easy. And everyone who you see that's overweight does not fit whatever stereotype you think
right,
of an
right.
obese person. So I think you do have that danger. Like I was saying about my friend, where her doctor would have told the insurance company it's all her fault, and none of it's her fault. Um, you do have that danger
Yes,
of
you do.
everyone who's overweight being thrown into this one basket of lazy people, and it's their fault that they're ill,
Right.
and we should jack up their rates.
Yeah, so that goes back to the each case would have to be investigated. Like, it just would have to, if you wanted to make it, 100% fair and equal to everybody else. Because, I mean, there's people who have, like, a lot of women suffering from polycystic ovarian syndrome. Like, they
Yeah,
gain weight so rapidly, and it's so hard to lose weight. Even if they're active, it's really hard. So, and people, like you said, you see a fat person, people are like, oh, they're so lazy. They just eat fast food all the time, But I don't know. It's hard to be 100% on either side of the argument. You know, I
yeah, exactly.
it's
That's the
tough.
thing. And I mean, it's weird. I feel like if something wasn't, created by God, then there's going to be some fallibility.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
our insurance system isn't perfect. Nothing is perfect, and there's no way to be 100% on most of these things. Um, Sharianne said, I agree that people don't think of insurance correctly. They think of it as some privilege and not that they are taking a risk. I do think that anything that increases a risk should be considered, just like life insurance.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, what about? I
And
mean, it's no different than life insurance in a sense. It's like just an ongoing. You use it ongoing.
it's like a living life insurance,
Yeah.
like, that makes sense. I guess life insurance, when I think of life insurance, I really think of death insurance, because that's when the money comes through, is when you're dead,
Yeah.
So, but death
Yeah.
insurance doesn't sound so nice. So,
And I mean, and this, I guess the other side of it is that it doesn't just have to be a penalty for doing something wrong, or being overweight. I mean, one thing, I think I wrote something that's like, wow, this is good. But you know, what they can do is like they can reward healthy behavior first. They can
Yeah,
take someone who is overweight, who is obese, and say, okay, if in 2 years we have these programs in place where you can go to these 5 gyms we've partnered with in your area for free or for $5 a month because we subsidize most of it, and you can work with a nutritionist once a month that we're paying for, and if every month you're reporting to the nutritionist or every week or however they set it up, and you're going to this insurance company sponsored gym, or even if your company has a gym on its headquarters, if you're doing these things and we see you doing it consistently, even if you're above the weight threshold, but you're working on these things,
right,
then we are going to waive the whatever penalty would have come because we see that you're engaging in healthy
right,
behaviors.
right,
So, maybe they say 15 gym visits in a month gets you, to waive the fee. 2 nutritionist visits in a month gets you to waive the fee and those types of things. So,
right.
maybe they do that.
I think like I remember vaguely reading an article and watching a video. This was a while ago, so I can't be 100% sure, but it was about a company that was offering to help people quit smoking so that it would lower their insurance premiums for them,
Mm.
and the whole thing was free. Like they were really trying to help these people to stop smoking, and they also had like a health fitness class thing to help people get into better shape, and it was all free through the company that they were working for. So, I like you were saying, that is a really good idea. I think like you'd be almost crazy not to take part in that, especially if it would be free, and it can lower your monthly or yearly cost of insurance. But
Yeah, and I wish that there were some auto insurance companies that say, if you have a clean driving record for X amount of years, then
right,
we're going to lower your deductible, or we're going to reduce your premiums in the next year, or whatever it is.
yeah,
You know.
it's like with Progressive, you get the little safe driving thing and you hook it into the port in your car, and I think we kept it for like maybe 2 months, and it records our driving history. Then we send it back in, and if you drive nice, you get a discount. It goes off your
Wow.
insurance. So it's like kind of the same thing. It's like we're less risk driver, so we get a better deal. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I I agree completely. I mean, if I was telling you off air when with auto insurance, the the first when I first bought a car and had to get full coverage insurance, it was $342 a month that I paid for insurance. My car note was $242 a month. So,
Wow, yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous that I was paying more to insure the car than I was to buy the car, and it was a brand new car. But I was under 25. I was single. I lived in a ghetto, so they, jacked up the rates because everybody was still in cars around me. All
right,
these things. I think within the first year, I got like 2 tickets. So all these things that about me that said he most likely is going to file an insurance claim. So we're going to make him
right,
pay through the nose because he's probably going to run someone off the road or do something foolish.
right. Right. Yeah, and I think don't they like when you enter how many miles you drive to work every day and stuff like that? I mean,
Yeah.
that also is a factor. So,
Yeah, I had an agent who actually I didn't know what she was doing at first, but she was asking me questions and she said like, "How much do you drive a day?" And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe 100 miles." She said, "I'm sorry, what'd you say, 10?" And I'm like, "I don't know why would you change what I just said?"
right,
And then
yeah.
it's like I was slow because I didn't know that they factored all these things in. And then she said, "Well, do you have a girlfriend?" It's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, so you're married." And she's
Yeah,
like, she was just saying this stuff. I'm like, "What?" And she's just looking at me like, "Oh, okay. I
I
guess
get
I'm
it.
supposed to, go ahead with your lie." So, but she was saying, "Hey, you do all these things. You're going to be paying less than this. I was paying over $4,000 a year,
Oh
for
my
car insurance." And
God.
she's like, "I can lower this for you if you just work with me." It
Right.
took a while.
Yeah, you finally got it though. Good job.
So
Wow.
okay, we have a comment from Carlton Kimmerate. I know I just said that wrong because I'm horrible with pronouncing names. I don't even know why I tried. But he says an increase in premium should not be allowed, primarily because it does not also change the maximum cap per year. If the insurance company accepts the same risk level, say 50,000 a year, then it makes no sense for overweight people to pay an increased premium for the same amount of total coverage. Now, if the total amount of coverage paid per year increases with the premium, then that's a different story. So, I mean, I think that's another great point to
Yeah,
look at is you're actually not just by increasing the premiums, you're not getting more coverage. If you max out at the same level, and you
true.
pay a higher premium, is that really fair?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I
But
didn't think of.
I think in a group situation, the what the counter argument would be, I guess, from the healthy people would be, well, the people who don't use it as much are subsidizing the ones who use it a lot.
Right.
So
Right.
even if I only use $8,000 worth of care and this person uses 42,000, we're both under that cap, but I'm paying a higher premium because I'm subsidizing
Right.
this person, or at least all of the risk is being dispersed equally, so I'm end up paying a higher rate than I would if I got this on my own, which isn't really true, but if they got into a group with people who are all on the same level, it probably would be true.
Right. Yeah. It's true. And like I was, saying to you before we went on air about in Britain, because I've been watching Fat Doctor. Sherry Ann knows what. Anyways, um, the one doctor made the comment that the council, which I'm guessing, I don't know what Britain's like medical situation is, like their health insurance stuff like that. I don't know what it's like. If it's like Canada or if it's like here where you privately buy, I don't know. But they were saying that it is cheaper for them to pay for people who are obese to get weight loss surgery and pay for their care than for them to not get it, and then they would have to pay for all the medical expenses later on. So that's like, I don't know. I found that interesting, that they, you know, thinking that paying those thousands of dollars for that insurance, the surgery and all the care that goes with it is cheaper in the long run for them. Like they're expecting these people to like
Yeah.
stay fit and healthy after the surgery and stuff, and like they're not going to have any kind of big problems. So I don't know. I just found that interesting and how their health insurance situation is different from ours.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that frustrates people here is that our insurance companies, outside of some of those programs they do through the workplace, I'm saying with the smoking cessation or even subsidizing the gym membership or things like
Mhm.
that, their insurance companies here at least aren't really interested in preventative care.
Right. Yeah, no. There's not like, hey, let's do this and get you good so that, later on down the road, we're not going to have to pay out thousands of dollars and neither will you. Like your rates won't raise and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I honestly don't understand. But there's probably a bunch of actuaries who have much bigger brains than I do and put things together. For some reason, they figure it's better to not even cover someone going to a nutritionist, which may,
Right.
include or see working with a trainer or even working with a couple of, doctors that aren't specialists in certain things. Like you have to pay a cancer doctor a lot more than you'd have to pay,
Mhm.
a functional medicine doctor, for instance.
Right.
But for some reason they won't go that route, which may help prevent a lot of things and also cause healthy behavior with that person passed on to their kids and different things. And it always has baffled me, and I wish I could talk to like an insurance representative and say, why don't you cover, a $50 thing that would be preventative, but you would pay for the
Yes.
$15,000 outcome of not preventing
Yes.
this.
Yes, like with I know a lot of people are not into this, but with chiropractic care, like it's proven to have helped a lot of people, and it's a good preventative medicine, but so many insurances won't pay for it, but they'll wait until, like, your back is so bad or something you need to have surgery, and I'm not saying that's the situation every time, but I know personally, chiropractic care has been awesome for me. Yeah, but does insurance cover it? Nah. So, but
Yeah.
some insurances do, but most don't. So it's like,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
And um, so Carlton also brought up the slippery slope argument that we were
Yes.
discussing earlier, where where do you stop? Where do you draw the
Right.
line? And do you include things that aren't under the control of the patient or the customer?
Right.
Where do you stop it? And that is true. I mean, you think about a pregnancy. I don't know what a pregnancy costs, maybe $20,000 or something like that.
A lot.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
a lot.
yeah. You're pregnant. How much does a pregnancy cost?
I mean, you go to so many doctor's appointments, and each appointment, every time they do a urine test, which is every time you go, every time they draw blood, I mean, everything is cost. Cost, cost, cost.
Yeah. So, it's like when you have that, you're gonna, have this rate. I mean, do they say, well, you got pregnant this year and you could have controlled that. So you're gonna have to
Yeah,
pay an increased
right.
premium. You wanted
Yeah,
to have a
that's
family, this
true.
is part of what you pay for. I
Yeah.
mean,
Pay up now,
they
sucker.
yeah. So I don't know, where you stop that. And that's why it's a hard
Yeah.
argument to make. I mean, I don't think I don't think it's fair to say take on more risk and don't charge me more for it. I don't think that's a fair thing to have an
Right.
agreement where you're here and then you say, but I'm now going to bring the value of what you get down, or the value of what I get rises and the value of what you get doesn't rise. I don't think that's a fair, relationship. But, to Carlton's first point, and he even, countered the argument talking about the healthy person trying to, saying that I'm subsidizing this unhealthy person if they're both under the cap. And what he's saying is that the fee the insurance company, and I'm quoting him now, the fee that the insurance company charges is based on the total potential amount they might be liable for in a single year, not the amount they actually pay. So as long as
Right.
they're both customers are under the cap, the insurance company, actually price their premiums based on possibly paying out this much, and now they're paying out only this much. So
Right.
whether the person was obese or not, they did not go over the amount the insurance company had planned to pay or price the premiums at. So
Right.
I mean, you have a lot of things. Like you said, do you get more? Do you get a higher threshold if you
Right.
charge?
And he's talking, that's like in group insurance, correct?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Individual insurance is a whole other ballgame.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is totally off topic, but every time you say Carlton, all I think of is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I'm sure this person is really happy to hear that, but I just, Carlton, yeah. But
I just
anyways,
wish.
it's spelled different though. It's with a K, not a C, so it's not even
Oh,
this.
is that one a C on
Yes.
Fresh Prince? Okay, see, I didn't
Yep.
know that. And
See.
and part of looking online at many other people, debate.org, and some of the other like financial blogs and different things, they put on the idea of women. He asked this question. He says, if you buy the more for obesity argument, why not charge women more than men? After all, they are far more likely to get pregnant than men. And in with individual coverage, women do pay more. Again,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's in every state, but I would actually imagine it's in every state. But women pay more than men for health coverage,
Right.
for individual coverage.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Hey,
do.
Brooke,
Hey, what's going on?
Hi.
we're just talking
You know.
about fat people taking up
Yeah.
insurance. No, we're
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 just
just
talking
trying to.
about it.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you think? How would you answer the question, just without everything we said so
No,
far?
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. How would do I think that people who are obese should have to pay more for health coverage?
Yes.
I mean, people if you're obese and you have a health problem, then yeah, I mean, if you have diabetes or high cholesterol or some kind of something, then you're going to pay more. But just based solely on your BMI, I don't, I mean, people have different BMIs who have different activity levels and different dietary habits and all sorts of different things. So, yeah, if you're sick, you're sick. And fat people tend to get sick more frequently, so.
Yeah. We talked about the whole BMI thing too, like, you know, how do you judge who's actually, like, what is fat? Like, and who decides what fat is fat, you know?
Yeah. And like we're saying, if it's just for obesity, then, where do you draw the line and say, okay, outside of pre-existing conditions, which I think under HIPAA they're not allowed to, they're not allowed to charge more for pre-existing conditions or to
Right.
deny you anymore. I
I
think
thought
so.
they could charge you as much as they want, but they can't deny you.
I don't know. I was
I'm
reading
not
up
sure.
on the Affordable Health Care Act, and from what I understood, but I could be totally wrong, is that you can't, they can't deny you, and I don't know. I don't know if they can charge you more or not, actually. But I thought that was the whole point of, like, the Affordable Health Care Act, so that they didn't charge you more, so it'd be affordable.
I know for, like I was saying before, with our state, with automobile insurance, they have this high risk pool, so it's every single person has to be insured, and
Mm-hmm.
we get insured through the individual insurance companies. It's not through the state, but you have to have um, insurers available to take any person, no matter how high their risk is. But they're allowed to charge what they want. So they can charge you $5,000 a month if they want to. I mean, I was saying, Brooke, that I was paying almost $350 a month for car insurance.
Oh my
My
gosh.
first car that I bought, and it was more than my car note because
Mhm.
they saw that I was high risk and I lived in a very, very high risk area. So they just jacked up my rates. I was paying more than my parents were paying for two people covered with two cars.
Right.
Mhm.
So they were able to, but I was one of those high risk drivers, so they automatically had me in this pool where I only had two or three insurance companies that were willing to underwrite my coverage.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. I couldn't imagine that. Like, holy cow.
Yeah. So yeah, and they Carlton asked, well, about women being charged more for insurance. He says, and if they have a hysterectomy, do they pay less?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like you look at it, and with health insurance cover doesn't seem to be as nuanced, because many people go through their employer and have group coverage, which really doesn't care about anything because all of the risk is dispersed among everyone in the group. So it's just whatever coverage you want, you buy it at whatever rate is there. There is no,
Mm-hmm.
there's no variables.
Right.
So I think it's harder to think of health insurance in the same way as life
Right.
insurance, but a life insurance will ask all those questions. They'll look at all these things. They'll look at what your activity level is. They'll look at what you do. I mean, there are athletes who they're athletes, and when they sign contracts, a lot of them in their contracts, they have certain activities and sports that they cannot take part in, even in the off season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big Atlanta Braves fan, and I remember Ron Gant. Um, oh man, my grandfather was still alive. So this was in the '90s, and he got hurt. I believe it was a motorcycle accident, and it was in his contract that he could not ride a motorcycle because he loved riding
Yeah.
motorcycles, probably like dirt bikes and like BMX courses and that stuff. Probably not just riding along the street. But whatever it was, he broke the contract, and he actually did not get paid for the time that he was recuperating from his injury, which was like maybe half a season or a season, because they
Yeah.
said we put it in the contract that if you're going to play for us, you can't do this thing because it's too risky.
Ben Roethlisberger did the same thing a few years back. He got in a motorcycle accident during football. I think it was, I don't know if it was during the off season or not, but yeah, same thing. You can't go skydiving. You can't, I'm sure,
Right.
ride a
Yeah.
motorcycle or do all sorts of stuff, you know?
Yeah. And I was just wondering, like, don't old people get charged more for insurance, like elderly
Well,
people?
they have Medicare, so it's different. Government
Okay.
just pays for it.
Okay, because my parents actually have other insurance other than Medicare. They
Oh, they
have,
have to have like supplementary insurance
yeah, they
too.
do. Yeah. So do they get charged more for that, for the supplementary stuff?
I don't know. I mean,
Because elderly people are
get to be
more
about
prone.
that age where anything could
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I mean,
You
like,
might
you're
not
old
be a
and
customer
frail.
for much longer.
Yeah, exactly. So do they get charged more? So if they do, then why don't, if obese people are more prone to, you know what I'm saying? Like, why do you charge old people more if you're not going to charge obese people more?
Yeah. I I think one thing, and like we were talking about at the very beginning, the purpose of insurance initially was just to cover, catastrophic events. And Carlton even says under most of these policies, this is affordable health care, I still have to pay $7,000 plus
Mm-hmm.
as a deductible per year in addition to my premiums. So outside of catastrophic care, it's actually cheaper to pay directly for my medical needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
So
crazy.
I mean, and that's really what. And I mean, they still have a lot of these, HSA accounts, where you have a huge deductible and you're able to pay in a tax deferred account to save money for some type of catastrophic event. But going to a doctor just for a checkup, you don't even bother with insurance at that point.
No.
And
It's cheaper to just pay out of pocket.
yeah, or you can go like the old days and just give the doctor a chicken or something.
Yeah, here's my goat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, things are a
Maybe we
lot.
should go back to bartering.
Maybe we should. I don't know. Maybe. But I don't have any chickens or goats, so I'm in trouble. And I have a doctor's appointment in 2 weeks, so I should work on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot different. And I'm amazed, like, our health system here in the US is so different from the health systems in, like, pretty much every other country. Like, in Australia, New Zealand, like, I was telling them how much it costs to have a baby here in the US, and they just couldn't believe it. They're like, "You're serious? You have to pay to go to the hospital and have your baby?" Like, nope, they couldn't fathom it. They're like, "Hey, you should come here to Australia and have your baby."
So one thing that, Brooke, we were talking about, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this, is that maybe what insurance companies can do first is introduce, rewards for good behavior and try to encourage healthy lifestyles. And where some of them subsidize gym memberships, or will have a insurance company sponsored nutritionist that sees 50 people in the group, and they're just almost pretty much an employee of the insurance company, and they, as long as you see them twice a month and go to the gym 10 times a month or something like that, or 5 times, whatever, then they'll waive the penalty even if you fail whatever their test is, whether you use BMI or whatever. If you come in over that, but they see that you're engaging in these healthy lifestyles, then they'll say you're one of the people who are still healthy, even though the measurements don't match up. And maybe that would be something they can do instead of just saying, "Oh, you're overweight, we're penalizing you." What do you think about that?
Our insurance does that, where if you go in for like a checkup at the university once a year, then you can get an Amazon gift card. There's different things you can do, and the more things you do, the more points you can get, and the more stuff you can get. I don't know how motivating all that stuff is. I mean, I think it probably helps some people, but it's not going to really help I don't think it's going to probably help a lot of people, because I think there's much more to weight loss than just going nutritionist and going to the gym. And I also don't think it's the insurance company's responsibility to encourage us to get healthy. They're a for-profit company. You know, they're not here to make our lives wonderful and great. They're here to make a profit. They don't care if we're healthy or not. They're trying to make money. So I don't know if I would necessarily count on their information or believe I don't know. Like, I wouldn't go to them for health advice. I might go like somewhere else. But I mean, it is nice getting little things. I think as long as the programs are small and manageable, like get an Amazon gift card, or get a basket of fruit. If they start getting bigger than that, I just think it's probably a waste, and that's why they don't do it. If it worked, they would do it.
I mean, I guess they could do something and say, well, here's the penalty, and by you going into this program, you're avoiding the penalty. So not so much we're giving you something, but we're giving you a
like
way.
Going to AA is part of your probation.
Yeah, like
yes.
if you go to Overeaters
go to
Anonymous
AA.
once a week or something like that, then you know what? We see that you're trying, and we see that it's not just a matter. You're not just one of the stereotypical people where you hear, oh, you're obese, you're fat, you're lazy, you eat bad, you don't want to exercise. That's not your situation. It's deeper than that. And if we see you're actually trying hard to be healthy, we're not going to give you that $3,000 a year penalty that is due you because you're overweight.
I mean, that would be nice, but it's not their obligation to do so. And I think that if that's what you think, then yeah, you should just get healthy on your own, because I don't know. I don't think those programs work. Honestly, I don't. I think that someone would just show up and get McDonald's on the way home just to avoid the penalty. And I think probably the bigger problem with insurance is not individuals having to pay more of a premium. It's the cost that we all bear. It's not just, oh, I have to pay for my own insurance, and that sucks for an individual. Me. It hurts everybody. So people putting themselves at a high-risk category for diseases, which being obese does, it does. You're taking money out of the pockets of everyone, not just yourself. And I think that's really the bigger problem. That's a big burden, not just obesity-related illnesses, but all sorts of health problems that we have. It's an enormous. I mean, Harry his medical care has probably cost more than $3 million, and he's 8 years old. So, and everyone else is picking up the tab for that. I don't know. This health insurance is lame. I don't get it. It's so ridiculous and lame.
I agree with you. Man, it's very. I mean, it's tough because the fact that we have health insurance, I think it stops everyone from looking at the real issue, which is cost. How do we lower the cost of delivering health care to people? Like in general, whether it's preventative measures, whether it's better education, whether it's encouraging better life. I mean, it's a mix of all these things. Who knows? But how do we lower the cost of healthcare so it's not so much of a burden on this country? And we don't get to face those questions because all we say is, if that person can't afford healthcare, don't worry about cutting his costs, just give him insurance.
Right.
And like you said, if that person gets insurance, the costs don't magically disappear. They're not swept under some rug. Someone is paying for that.
The Medicaid cloud.
Exactly.
It pays for everything.
People are paying for this when we say, oh, just throw insurance at the problem. No, let's figure out why it costs so much money for simple things. And that's why I was upset, actually, that the Affordable Health Care Act was pushed through as quickly as it was. I do understand that they wanted to do something, but I was just upset that it was pushed through so quickly because I don't think the health economists outside of the government got a chance to really weigh in on the problems and say, let's figure out why it costs so much money and see what we can do to change the whole system. Don't just throw this blanket of insurance over it and keep everyone charging the same ridiculous rates. And it was just frustrating.
Yeah, it's hard too because for-profit insurance, they're really not in the business of finding a solution. They're in a business of being more efficient so they can make more money.
Right.
But that's what they want to do. I mean, and then the government system is a whole separate problem because people who end up with Medicaid, as we did for 4 years, 3 years, it's expensive and they pay for everything. I mean, everything. I was, oh, let's go to the doctor because I don't have to pay. It's just a whole thing.
Yeah.
And now we have to pay again. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about the whole moral hazard issue of, people taking on riskier things because they don't have to pay for the consequences, or people, consuming health care for small things that they wouldn't have to. I mean, we get a cold that we know is going to be gone in 5 to 7 days. We know, but we still have to go to the doctor, and we still have to get a prescription. And we still, and we know it's going to be gone, but we still have to go see a doctor for that because we know insurance will cover it. If we had to pay $5,000 every time we wanted medical care for a cold, we would suck it up.
Yep.
You wouldn't go.
It's so true, though. It is.
Carlton said, and this is something he left a few minutes ago. I wanted to read it. And he said, my wife is Colombian. In Colombia, the doctors and hospitals actually charge less for a given procedure based on the patient's income. And I think it's surprising because I just couldn't imagine that happening here for, as far as a system. Obviously, individual doctors.
You can apply for assistance, but to really get good assistance, you have to be really below the poverty line. And it's not the same as just because then you still have to pay up front, and then you might, I don't know. It's Colombia. It sounds better. In New Zealand and Australia. Would you mind paying? I'm sure the taxes in New Zealand are crazy high, right?
That's the thing. You might not pay for when you go to the doctor, but you pay. It's not magic. Somebody's paying for it still. It's the same as in Canada. Someone is paying for it, and taxes are high. They are high there, and the cost of living in New Zealand is crazy. We couldn't do that. We couldn't live there how we live here. So, you might be able to go to the doctor more, but that's about it. You're like, woo, party, doctor.
Back to my teeny tiny apartment.
Yes, that's it. But yeah.
Island Sneezer said, so glad I live in Canada. Lived in the States for 4 years and was astonished how much insurance costs there. And I think people are shocked when they come from a place that has, government-sponsored health care.
Right.
But then you always hear the stereotypical argument against that is we don't have to wait 2 years to get MRI.
That's it. That is really true, though, because my sister-in-law in Australia, she needed her gallbladder out, and she was initially scheduled. She was going to wait something like 4 to 6 months, and she was having gallbladder attacks. It was bad. When I was here, I went to the ER 2 weekends in a row with gallbladder attacks, and after the second weekend, that Wednesday, I had my gallbladder out. I didn't wait. But she was going to have to wait for 6 months to get her gallbladder out. Then she got a massive attack and ended up in the hospital, and they had to fly her out. So she got it out. But if she hadn't have had that, she would have waited. And my sister lives in Canada, and she waits a good amount to have procedures done, and she has MS. So, you do wait.
Yeah, that's one. It reminds me. I mean, this is different. This is about education, which is another huge debate. But when I was in grad school, there was a guy from Poland, and he actually came from Poland just to study at Rutgers University, and
random.
yeah, we were doing economics together, and he said, in Poland, higher education is free. The government just provides higher education. He said it is so competitive you wouldn't believe it. And so you have very few people who are qualified in a sense as far as being very intelligent who are actually able to get higher education because there is no cost associated with it to whoever wants it. So you have the best and the brightest, and you have such a competitive environment that there are very few people consuming it, but you have the best of the best of the best in that case. Where here, you can't walk 5 minutes without at least seeing a county college.
Yeah, exactly.
College. So, it's something that where it's just kind of the same, I think, for medical care. When you have it where it's subsidized by the government, that's one thing. Everybody will flood it because they don't have to pay. They don't even have to pay premiums. I mean, they do, obviously. You're paying out of your taxes, but they don't see it. It's
Right.
not like they get a deduction out of their paycheck with a line item that says it. You just pay higher, taxes in general. So I think that's the one thing when the costs are kind of gone or hidden. We don't
Right.
consider them as much.
Yes, I agree.
And
I can't
Carlton,
think
who
of
has a
what I
lot of good.
prefer.
Sorry, what'd you say, Brooke?
I said I don't know what I would. I don't know what I would prefer. I don't know. We've always been lucky with our health insurance. I've never really had anything really bad happen and not had good insurance or been over our head with that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
waiting would stink too.
Hmm. See, I've never until now. When I worked at Taco Bell, I had health insurance, but I didn't have anything major going on with me then. But when I had my gallbladder, I didn't have insurance, but then I qualified for charity through the hospital because we were a Catholic hospital, so they offered charity for people who didn't have insurance, and they ended up paying something like 75%. But then I had to pay a down payment before I could have the surgery done. So
A down payment.
I did. I did. I had to go to the little window and it's like, here you go, please take my gallbladder out. But so
And talking about the costs, being masked by the fact that everyone has insurance, Carlton says this is why you can usually buy a new pair of glasses and get a second pair for free. If they actually reduce the cost of the glasses, then the insurance companies will adjust what they will reimburse, hence the artificially inflated prices.
mhm.
And we all talk about, I think Sherry Ann said, I think a hospital charging $200 for 2 Tylenol is a bigger issue.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of that has to do with the hidden costs of, especially with hospitals, taking not turning away anybody, but you also just have the fact that all these costs get swallowed up, and the insurance company will reimburse us, or what they which I hate this part, and doctors do it too, is they will charge these ridiculous amounts, $500 for a 5-minute office visit, but they know the insurance company will only reimburse them 120. And if it's
Mhm.
Medicare or Medicaid, they probably only get reimbursed 60. But if you're paying on your own, then it's the $500 rate. Why? Because that's been inflated by insurance,
Yep.
because that's what they initially bill, even though they won't get it. And you don't get that Medicare rate or the group insurance rate. You get the rate that they charge, which has been puffed up just so they get the normal rate from the insurance company.
Yeah.
And
That
I
sucks.
hate that.
Yeah.
Sherry Ann said Jamaica has free health care at all government hospitals and clinics for its citizens, and the stories about waiting are horrendous.
Mhm. That's scary. Like, I don't know if I'd rather just pay and be able to get taken care of right now, because I don't know. I don't like waiting. So I would I'm an instant, I want instant gratification, I'm going to go and I'm going to get my gallbladder out next week, and I just don't know if I could stand the waiting, and the being in pain, unless it was a life or death thing, then, you wait. So I don't know.
When
But
I
I
studied abroad, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
When I studied abroad, I got really sick and I had to go to the hospital. And they didn't really have doctors; it's just hospitals. And I had to pay when I finished, and you have to pay in cash. And the inflation rate, this was in 2002, 2001, so the inflation rate was probably a lot different. But I ended up paying with a stack of money that was probably this tall, and I think I probably paid like $150, and it was like this much
Right.
money.
Holy cow. Where were you
They
at?
have like money counters in Ghana.
Oh,
The
man.
hospital in the front, they're taking the money with the money counters. And they're counting the funny counter.
That'd be so weird to see. Like, what?
It was weird to see. Very weird to see.
Am I at a hospital or like a gambling den or what?
It's out the bills counting.
Yes.
Yeah. And now we just sit there and give them a little insurance card and say, here.
Yep, that's it.
You don't think about how much it costs. It could cost, I mean, to be in the hospital, I was in the hospital almost a week, and it cost like $150 US. To be in the hospital a week now.
Yeah, it was about, for me in 2007, I was in there for 8 days, and it cost just the hospital stay, not including the bills for the doctors or anything, was I think $56,000.
Yeah.
And
It's
then all the
crazy.
doctors billed separately for what they did
Yep.
and everything. It was ridiculous to be in for 8 days.
Yep. It's crazy.
Katie's to weight loss. Oh, so glad she's watching. She says the insurance company we had through my husband's work would give discount for being healthier. They would help pay the gym fees, and when you went, if you didn't smoke, they cut the cost some also. Lower blood sugar saved you. There were a lot of saving for getting healthier, and I think when you see them do that, then it, even if they offer it, and Brooke, as you said, when a lot of people, if they don't take advantage of it, that's on them. But then they can't blame them. I mean, it's not their responsibility. I definitely don't think companies that are built to make a profit should be required to show any type of empathy or care for their customers.
Mm-hmm.
They really shouldn't. If you don't like the way they treat you, go find another company that treats you better, because one will rise up. One will say, hey, we're going to make customer service our niche, and we're going to take all the customers of these disgruntled customers from these companies. So that will happen, or start your own or something, but I don't think it's their fault. But I do think when they do it and you see people trying to take advantage of it, then I think it's almost like a PR play, where the insurance company can say, hey, we put this out here. For 5 years, we've been subsidizing gym memberships, and we tell you every year we subsidize these, smoking cessation programs, and you don't take advantage of them. So now we're going to actually ding you for doing these unhealthy things. We gave you chances, because we really care about you. And now because we care, we're going to give you a financial incentive by charging you a penalty.
Yeah. Well,
they care about you so much.
Yeah.
Well, that's good that she has that.
I think I think some of them help sometimes. And Get a New Me VSG suggests listening to Dr. Robert Lustig, who I've never heard, but I guess he lectures on the healthcare system and things that we can do to curb the costs in the system. So it's more than an hour now since we started, so we are out of time. It definitely went by quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get into any arguments. No one cursed us out in the comments. And we well, maybe Google censored them. I don't know. But
all right.
At least everything, was civil, and I think we realized that it's not a very easy answer, but the insurance companies aren't obligated. I think that would kind of be the consensus. We would say it's not just a black and white thing because you have a slippery slope, but the insurance companies aren't obligated to be our buddies through this.
Right. Yep.
All right, so that's it for this week, and we have one more week left of the Renew Show. That's it. One more week. Next week we're doing a Q&A. Everybody come with all of your questions that you have for us, especially for Sarah, who's running up and getting pregnant, and Brooke. Hit them two up hard. But yeah, we're just gonna be here answering your questions, anything that you want to know of us, because then we're going off the air. So hopefully you all tuning in, and definitely keep in touch even after that, because we'll still be putting videos out. And make sure you're subscribed to all the individual channels. Sarah Smelling, who's been commenting, Brooke is Crazy Running Mom, and my wife, who's been commenting as well, Jazz Wife KNS, who couldn't make it on this week. All right, guys, hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.